guy can't open his fucking business. Shame on you fucking people. Shame on
Hey, it's Grottu Orloff here. What day is it? December 10th, 2020. It's a beautiful day here in Grottuville, although I hear it may rain tomorrow. I'm up here on the 5th floor of the Grottu Orloff building, organizing Silver Age comics. Now, because of when I was born in 1965, and by the time I really started collecting comics, it was the dawn of the 70s and smiley faces and everything. And so most of my collection is Bronze Age, right? Well, and then a little bit after, you know, the 1990s kind of killed my joy in buying new comics. So I would, you know, still buy old comics when I could. Then Lone Star Comics, my local comic shop, stopped selling old comics in their stores. They went to only selling it online, which is now mycomicshop.com. They sold their brick and mortar business to a company called Wild West Comics. So if you come to Arlington, there'll still be a comic shop. Instead of Lone Star, it's Wild West. And see, Lone Star, Wild West, kind of the same theme. And also, it's the same, if you think about it, it's the same number of letters. Wild, Lone, West, Star. And so the new sign fits in the spot where the old Lone Star sign is. But anyway, when Lone Star stopped selling old comics, it killed a lot of joy. And then I'd have to find old comics when I could. And I kind of forgot about Duncanville books for a decade or more. I was buying all kinds of old Thor, Silver Age comics there in the 80s, and Fantastic Four comics, and then it's a little bit of a drive, not that much, a little less than 30 minutes to get there from Grottuville, but I just kind of forgot about going there, and I would go to, man, there was some store, it wasn't Keith's, some store in Dallas, is something apostrophe S's Comics, and it was run by a couple of Peppermint Patty kind of women. It was actually run by a woman, but the guy behind the counter was this obnoxious, I think he must have been one of their husbands, and he was a little obnoxious, honestly, you know, in the classic Simpsons comic book guy kind of way. So I would go there and buy comics in the early 2000s. I completely forgot about Duncanville. And then when I rediscovered Duncanville books about 3 or 4 years, just forgotten about it. They'd expanded, and they're just amazing. They're one of the best, if not the best, comic shop I've ever encountered. So, organizing, I made this decision a while back that I want to separate my comics from like 1971 and before in separate boxes, so that when I flip through these boxes, I see nothing but the 60s and the 50s, and I don't have much golden age, to be honest with you. So anyway, I better turn this down because that's copyright type music. This is my personal radio station. I broadcast it on 106.9 FM to every radio in the house, and the neighbors here, 2 houses down, I think they could probably get it if they wanted it across the street. Maybe some of the apartments, the scum that live over here could hear it. I can hear it in my driveway. Maybe it's supposed to go 100 feet. It's the Whole House Transmitter. Go to wholehousetransmitter.com and you can buy one too and be just like Grottu. If you would like copies of these radio discs that I make, they go for a little over 6 hours. Music and DJ Grottu Orloff. I guess I can make copies for people. Maybe I should start. I don't even know what the hell. Maybe I should start a Patreon account, and then you donate a little bit of money, enough that maybe I could buy dinner, and then because it would take me. I guess I could burn it with a computer in just a few seconds, but I would probably just do it in actual time and record 6 hours. Yeah, because I don't have the ability to burn right now on a computer. I don't know, just an idea. If you wanted to share in the joy of hearing this obnoxious radio that I broadcast It,
America great again?
they,
Grottu Radio 106.9 FM.
so, I've got these jingles, and I recorded myself doing little DJ bits, and it's actually on YouTube. You could steal my openings if you wanted to do this yourself. It's very simple, just time consuming. Okay, so continuing to go through Silver Age comics. Woof. I woof because there's a kitty litter box in the next room, and I didn't clean it this morning. I should do that before the next astounding episode of the Grottu Orloff radio television program. Well, when we last met, I was going through Submariner, and then the video just shut off. So apparently I've got so much crap on my phone that I can only record 51 minutes now of video content for you folks out there. But what I keep encountering is something like this. It's bagged, but it's not boarded, and it's also not taped. So that's something I've been doing. Well, today there's all kinds of stuff going on in the news that YouTube doesn't let you talk about, but I'll probably be down there watching stuff going on in Georgia and somewhere else. If Right Side Broadcasting Network is allowed to show it. Okay. So that's Submariner 40. Submariner, what I was saying, I probably got cut off, is Submariner is kind of overlooked by a lot of collectors. Ooh. Sugar and Spike. Gosh, I love this comic. It's the artist. Now, not many artists at DC signed their work in that era, but Sheldon Meyer, not to be confused with Shelley Moldoff. Shelley Moldoff was a Batman artist. Sheldon Meyer did this kind of cutesy art I like. Did Sugar and Spike and The Three Musketeers, which is a comic book that brought me in around 1970, I believe. It was one of those 52-page giants. It was a collection of the Three Musketeers, and it was reprints from the 50s. But see, Sheldon Meyer worked for DC forever. In fact, he's responsible for Superman. There was two teenagers in New York that came up with the idea for Superman, Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. They sent their proposed newspaper comic strip for Superman all over. Sheldon Meyer dug it out of the trash in the offices and said, "This is great," and showed it to his boss. It might have been Bill Gaines. Not Bill Gaines. Max Gaines. Max Gaines is Bill Gaines' father. Bill Gaines is the EC guy. His father kind of invented comics and was the first to publish Wonder Woman. And if you see the, I think it's called Professor Marston and the Wonder Women, which shows the creator of Wonder Woman and kind of the S&M kinky stuff he was into. It shows him taking Wonder Woman, the concept, to Max Gaines. The entire comic book industry is pretty much people of the Jewish faith in New York that created all of this. Almost everybody was Jewish. And today, I believe, is the beginning of Hanukkah. So, for those of you out there that are Jewish, happy Hanukkah. My grandfather was a professional baseball player. His name was Philip Weinert, and you can look him up. Look up Lefty Weinert. He was recruited out of high school to play Major League Baseball, and he was played with the New York Yankees, I think in 1931, along with, Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig. And he played for the Phillies, the Cubs, and then he wound up being I think he went down to the minor leagues, and I think he was a scout, for baseball teams there in his later years. But had a giant family, my giant Catholic family, right? Giant. I never even met all my uncles and aunts. There's so many of them up on the East Coast, and he married a woman that had come over as a little girl from Ireland on the boat, and so they put out in I guess about 20 years ago a little baseball card. I got a copy. It's like famous Jewish baseball players, and it's like my grandfather was Jewish. I had no idea. I guess I should have known by my last name, which is Weinert. Anyway, so he was Jewish, but he never told his children, never talked about it. He married an Irish woman. All the kids were brought up Catholic, but I don't know that he ever renounced his Judaism. It just wasn't something he talked about, and so I didn't know that until this baseball card comes out, right? In fact, I think my name, Weinert, actually didn't originally have the T, but I think there was a famous boxer. When he first became a baseball player, there was a famous boxer named Weinert, and when the announcer, he came out on the field, the announcer, knew that name from the boxer, so he said Weinert when his name was actually, I guess, Viner, or some people pronounce it Wiener. And I got enough bullshit from people growing up with my last name Weinert that they call me Wiener, and if my name really was Wiener, holy shit, with like that horrible politician that was always showing his private parts to everybody. That would have been horrible. But anyway, so I guess I got a little bit, and then my mother, she married an Irish woman, and then my mom was on one side Irish and one side French. So I'm 50% Irish, I got some French, then I got some German, actually German, Russian, Jewish blood, because I think my grandfather, the baseball player, came from like the border between Russia and Germany. And then his grandmother or mother was named Orloff, which is where I get the name. I don't take it from the horror movies. It's just the coolest name. In fact, I'd love to change mine. I kind of have here on YouTube and on Facebook and everywhere else. God damn, that cat urine smells bad. I think I have ADD. It's like distracted. Oh, a fly. Like the dog in, what was it, Up? So, the whole point, I have no idea what my point was. Beginning of Hanukkah. Happy Hanukkah to all of you Hanukkans. I never understood. Hanukkah goes for a couple weeks, right? I don't know how that works. So I'm going through Sugar and Spike, yes. One of my favorite comics. I need to have more Sugar and Spike. But anyway. Yeah, Sheldon Meyer. Obviously, it's just... yeah. Sugar and Spike. Oh, and then in the 70s they started reprinting. DC in the 50s had a Rudolph comic book. Big, thick Rudolph comic. Every December there would be a new Rudolph comic out. It just came out once a year. In the 70s they started reprinting the old Rudolph stories in these big collector's edition. Marvel called them treasury editions. I think DC called them collector's editions. They're oversized comics. And I actually got off the rack. My mom got me the first of the big giant comics, which was Rudolph, and apparently that's very scarce, according to all of the sources that I've seen. But it's a beautiful, really adorable. Rudolph is great. I'd love to get some of the 50s issues. I'm sure that Captain Strangelove will showcase those during his Christmas episode. Yeah, man. it's just one of those great comics that I think some people may ignore and not think about. But if you like this kind of thing, you know, they it's just these two babies. They understand each other. They can talk to each other, but they don't really speak in normal human language. They don't know how to communicate with adults. Oh my goodness. I didn't have as I did 4 volumes where I'm sitting here in this chair organizing these comics, and the first day I did two episodes, and people kind of like that, and then the 2 I did yesterday, the diminishing returns, you know, instead of 40 something viewers it was like 20 something viewers. So maybe I'm boring, or maybe the titles I'm putting out. 3rd try to organize the comics. 4th try. Those are kind of boring titles, so I got to come up with better titles. There seem to be certain keywords that people like key issues. Yeah, I think you should speculate on this key issue, because I think that they're going to bring, I think Zack Snyder was talking about bringing Sugar and Spike into the DC comic universe. Yes, indeed. So, maybe I should call this episode Comic Book Crazy. I was thinking about reincarnation. What if you were reincarnated as someone that doesn't like comic books? And if you are, if your interest and your hobbies somehow stick with your soul into the next life, then you got to start your whole comic collection over again. And maybe you'll be on eBay buying comics that you used to own in the last life. So maybe you should write your name on the inside of every comic, and then when you buy that 40 years from now in your next life, you say, well, that name looks familiar. That address looks familiar. You'll realize, oh, I don't know. I don't know if I believe in reincarnation or not, but there was this kid, little baby, that he knew all the technical terms about World War II aircraft. It's like they set him down. He knew how to operate the machinery, and then they figured out, you know, who he was. Somehow he kept said the name, and then they brought in this elderly woman that was the sister of the guy that this World War II pilot. And she says, yes, that's definitely my brother, this baby here. That she just, I don't know, man. Things are weird. Maybe that's what, when they talk about being born again in the Bible, maybe that's what they talk about. I don't know. Hey, I'm not David Wilcock. I'm not profound enough to be David Wilcock. Or even David Voss. You guys ever listen to David Voss on VOSE? David Voss is some guy who lives in a trailer in Oklahoma, and he just seems to be this Bible scholar, knows everything about the Bible and weird possible, you know, his deal is that there was an evil, that the God in the Old Testament is different from the God in the New Testament. He was like this evil bad guy, like a dark side or something, making people sacrifice their kids and everything, and that he's a different guy from the guy in the New Testament who is the good guy. So I hear people say that stuff, you know, and there's people that go back to the very first writing from Sumeria, you know, the story of Gilgamesh. They had their gods. They called them those that came from above, and their writings that we've gotten from these tablets, which is the very first writing from ancient Sumeria, which is now Iraq. And notice when we went into Iraq, when we invaded Iraq, the first place they wanted to go was those museums to get this, because some people think that there was an alien race that came. They wanted to mine Earth for things they needed, and then there were these primitive creatures, and they genetically modified them to turn them into slave labor to help them mine this stuff. And it was this race of aliens that were called different names in different societies, you know, Zeus and Odin and all the whole family of gods that many cultures have, and they all seem to be analogous, Venus and Aphrodite, these were actual real beings, that these stories of mythology were actually history. This is the kind of stuff that, Jack Kirby and Stan Lee had fun with. Well, I guess the movie The Eternals will be about that. Never really read, I picked up some Eternals comics when I was a kid because I knew Jack Kirby, he's great, but Kirby from that era was not that, didn't really resonate that much with a fifth grader, because he was just, his writing, it's just, he needed Stan Lee's dialogue, really. Okay, so let's get the sugar. I've done sugar and spiking. What was my point there? I was off going on many tangents. Yeah. Ooh. Anyway, the ancient Sumerian tablets have the same, a lot of the stuff that's in the Old Testament, it's like much longer. It's like the Bible. The Old Testament is an edited down version of these, what you get in the Sumerian tablets. They have the flood story and everything. But anyway, this guy David Voss on the internet is a nice guy, but he starts every video, Hi, this is David Voss. Well, it's a beautiful day here in Oklahoma, and there's ducks are playing and the cats are singing, and it's every video starts. He tells you how the weather is in Oklahoma, and so whenever we put him on, it's like, well, how's the weather today, David? Well, it's a beautiful day here in Oklahoma. David Voss, yes indeed. Well, Superboy meets Supergirl. What a bitch. She's throwing darts. She's throwing lawn darts at Superboy. What a cunt. Ooh, shouldn't use that language. Dare I? Superboy. Ah, this is an example of how I need to put a board in with this one and seal it. So, there's all kinds of cool channels on YouTube. Although there's becoming fewer and fewer because YouTube is taking a lot of people down. Okay. Oh boy. Krypto's even turning on Superboy here. That's Superboy number 118 if you're wanting to purchase your own copy. And that's, damn. 123. Oh, this big band song, I just discovered this last week. I'd never heard this song before. It's really cool, really creepy. Music Captain America listens to. I've always loved it. Some people rebel against their parents. I'm not going to listen to that shit my parents listened to. My parents were teenagers during World War II. My dad just missed World War II. If he'd been a few years older, he would have been caught up in that conflagration. But he was drafted into the Korean War the day after he graduated college. They're waiting for him. The Scoundrel of Steel. I had an art teacher at Bailey Junior High. She was so cool. Well, she can't possibly be around anymore because it's the late 70s, right? And she was an older lady, and she had a glass eye, so you really couldn't tell where she was looking in the classroom. But she looked like an older Betty Davis, right? And she dyed her hair black, and she was just a very striking-looking person. But she would always say, "You scoundrel, you scoundrels." She would jokingly call the students all scoundrels. You just don't hear people in real life using the word scoundrel, you know. I have good memories of junior high, but mostly horrible. You know, kind of thing like you drop a quarter or a dollar on the ground, someone picks it up. "I won't give you this quarter back unless you suck my dick, pussy." That's kind of a charming scum that I recall. Back in the days when, I remember when the village people all around the courtyard, because after lunch you had this courtyard. It was surrounded by walls. You weren't out in the grass, you know. You had the sun, but it was like you're in a prison courtyard. Occasionally, someone would entertain you by having an epileptic seizure and flopping around, or, you know, I remember one time this guy, someone was like hitting his leg, and it was going ding, 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 you know, and it turned out he had a metal leg. He accidentally shot his leg off. And I thought, wow, that guy's got a robot leg. Memories that you have, you know. But mostly, you know, I'd be like, okay, what was the social studies test like? And it would tell me, you know, from some of my friends, because I really wanted to have good grades, because parental pressure. But what was my point of this whole story? Yeah, I don't have many good memories of that school, but I mean I do now, but because I purged the. So it happens. Horrible place. Okay, 134, 156. Boy, that's a big jump. Wait. 159. Okay, so I've got some Superboy comic collecting to do. But, you know, these are comics that came out when I was like 3 years old, so, you know, I can't, not my fault. I would have been buying them if I could, if I was, talking about wars, is that what I was talking about? Korean War? Luckily I managed to be born at just the right time where the draft was done away with right when I was a little kid, and I never had to deal with that. Just about the only person in my family that wasn't in the military. My dad was a full colonel. My oldest brother went up to be I don't know, was he higher than a lieutenant? I know he went in as a second lieutenant, and I don't know how far up he got. I remember he worked for a little while as the assistant to General Patton's son, who, which I guess was George Patton the third, maybe. Yeah, he was a general. I don't know. Is he still? I don't know. But that was a while back. The Day It Rains, Superboys. Yeah, indeed. Okay, so. Superboys, these are the Superboys red letter days. But even better, look at this ad. The model kits with these glow parts came out about 1970, 69. Glowed enough to light up your room, so whatever they used in those plastic parts, I don't know. They don't use that, whatever it was, I don't know. In the old days, see that alarm clock up there? somewhere. I don't know if I'm pointing the right way. Don't ever get old alarm clocks from like the 1940s if you're an antique person. Because I watched a documentary on PBS, a movie when I was young, back when I was young. It was called Radium City, and it was about some town in the Midwest somewhere where it was a small town, and they had a factory there. They made clock faces, and it's about every girl in the town worked in this factory, and they painted the numbers and the little marks on the alarm clock faces, and they wanted them to glow so you could see them at night. So they used paint with radium in it. So they would dip the brush in the radium, highly radioactive, and they taught the girls to get a fine point on the brush, to lick the brush so it'd have a fine point so they could paint more accurately. And so, you know, as you can imagine, the whole town, all the women were dying and the kids were born mutated. So yeah, so there's old
Tennessee. Fucking, yeah,
DJ.
we're playing lots of great records for you here in Grottu.
That's my cousin Otis.
WFUN. Weird, fucked up music, noise. Here on the number one station.
So, old clocks are still going to be radioactive. Okay. Oh, I have two 183s. How about that one? Oh, that's Superman.
What's new, pussy?
156.
What's new, pussy?
159. Okay. When Neil Adams came along, things just kind of changed and looked a lot different.
Yes, I
Okay, Superboy 161.
do. You sweet little pussy.
6.
What's new, pussy?
Ooh, look at this cover.
What's new, pussy?
Pretty snazzy, huh?
Pussy, pussy, I've got flowers and lots of hours to spend with you.
Yeah. DC like to put 8s on the cover. Oh, this is, or I've tried to do the Captain Strangelove method. See, it has a tab. The tape has a tab because I folded it over so I can pull it down like so, and then free this up. And then when I want to reseal it, I just put the original tape back over it. That's the method I learned from Captain Strangelove. But if you don't fold it just right, there's going to be a sticky part exposed. And if you don't clip that off, then it's going to kind of stick to the plastic of the comic next to it, behind it, and that's annoying. It really works, but you got to be careful what you're doing. You can't be slapdash about it. So that's not a trick from me, but from Captain Strangelove, who, if you're not subscribed to, he's the guy that started talking about comics on YouTube. Anyway, let me turn this down a little bit too loud. Disturbing my thinking. Superboy 160. Okay, 165. Okay. Yeah, see, I've got 2 copies of this 80-page giant Superman 183. It's a great cover. Actually, possibly even wall-worthy. Whew. So, you know, think about Christmas, and we've got all this iconography. Is that the right word? We have all these things like Christmas trees and reindeer and snow, and we're celebrating the birth of Jesus. Was there snow? Were there reindeers? Reindeer, rather? Were Were there pine trees there in Israel, ancient Judea, or whatever you call it? The answer is no. They think that Jesus was actually born. I've heard some people say April, some people say September. I don't know. I think we're supposed to have a recreation of the giant star of Bethlehem. Two stars are supposed to get close to each other in our vision. I don't know. I heard something about that from somebody yakking on YouTube. Okay, so why do we? Obviously, Christmas was not originally about Jesus. It's an ancient holiday, and when the people of Northern Europe were forced to convert to Christianity, or converted, maybe, I don't want to say forced, but they said, okay, but we're going to keep our holidays. So they just switch over the holiday, kind of like Easter. Originally worshipped Ishtar or Ostare or whatever. It's a fertility festival, with rabbits and eggs and all these things. It's just, one thing's new things pasted on it so you can keep your holiday. Okay, we'll just, but, like if socialists take over the United States, if they keep our flag, we'll say, well, now the flag represents the socialist people's democratic blah, 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 blah of America. It's the same image, but now it has new meaning. But, so why is it that we have this 182? Yes, 183. So what's going on? Why is Christmas such a weird mixture with elves too? Elves. Ooh, elves. Well, look, I'll give you a little clue here. See, we all collect these. I don't know. I collect Thor comics, right? So there's Journey to Mystery 98. So the real Santa Claus was Odin. Now here's the thing. Odin had a horse that flew. Okay, a reindeer, flying horse. I believe his horse was named Sleipnir. Okay, we have 8 reindeer, right? Well, that horse had 8 legs. So Odin, who had a big white beard, had an eight-legged flying horse. Would land on your rooftop. Odin would, and the kids would put stockings filled with food for Sleipnir, and Odin would replace them with gifts. So you were feeding Odin's horse. Very cold, frigid, harsh environment that the Vikings, the Norsemen, lived in. So if you were out traveling and it started to become nighttime, you needed shelter. You needed someone to take you in, or you're going to perish. So how do they, are you going to just take in strangers? Well, here's the thing. In their culture, in order for travelers to survive, they made it like a religious principle that if it's getting dark, you take that person in. Because if you don't, Odin, he would travel. And if he stopped at your house and you let him in and fed him, then all of a sudden he'd reveal himself to be Odin, and he would tell you these great stories. And of course, if you wrote them down, then they could become part of the lore. But you never knew if that person knocking on your door at dusk was Odin or not. So you sure better, Oh, and Odin's, the whole thing about Santa Claus knowing who's good and bad. Well, Odin had 2 ravens that sat on his shoulder, and during the day they would go out and they'd observe, and they'd come back and report to Odin, what's going on in the world, who's been naughty, who's been nice. And the elves, you see that in the Thor comics, they make, in Lord of the Rings, they make weapons and stuff. Well, of course, for Santa Claus, they make toys. Actually, I think there's a Mel Gibson movie out where he plays Santa Claus, and the elves are making weapons for the military-industrial complex. which is you know, that's kind of what the elves did in ancient Norse mythology. How about that? Yeah, I know a lot about things that will never make me any money, but it used to entertain my students. I have students that went on to become teachers, and one of my favorite students, a great writer, she later became a self-help guru. But you know, inner city school, kids didn't have a lot of chances. I made sure they got into prestigious private schools. I made sure that they started to love to read and write. I got their writing published in magazines I put out, and I valued their artwork, their comic art that they did, and I had them read. Oh yeah, we used to read A Princess of Mars every year, the Edgar Rice Burroughs book, the one that started everything, the one that Star Wars, Flash Gordon, all of that fantastic fiction where people in outer space not only have ray guns but swords. You know, it's all. Yeah, one year it's just. I wanted them to learn to read and to enjoy the love of, and I'd show them classic films, because that's also a kind of literature. And, you know, if you're an inner city kid, and this close, either in a gang or close to being in a gang, or maybe a lot of the people in your siblings are in gangs, and you're watching Singing in the Rain, and you wind up loving it because you never would have been exposed to anything but Blood In, Blood Out, or Fast and the Furious, and all of a sudden you're being exposed to these classic films because you've got a teacher that knows what it takes to turn you into a well-rounded human being. But some of my ex-students, like one time, one of my ex-students showed up as a substitute teacher, and talked about what an impact I made on his life. He came to a party at my house. I went out with he and his girlfriend, he's now married to and has children with. We went out and saw the premiere of the movie Kick-Ass. That's kind of weird. Here's someone you taught when they were in 6th and 7th grade, and now you're hanging out with them as an adult, and they think you're the coolest. But I retired at just the right time, because now the way schools are right now with this Wuhan stuff, this thing that cannot be mentioned, floating around the air, supposedly. Kids aren't learning through this remote learning. If your kids are at home, they're not really learning, but maybe they are. But you better have books in your house, and you better take gotta get them away from computer screens. For a little, not all the time, but it's got to be in moderation. They need to be reading books. Books like, this is a great one. This is where Lois Lane changes ethnicity. That's kind of a famous one. Number 106. Okay, so I don't file this under L for Lois Lane because it's Superman's girlfriend, Lois Lane, so I file it under S. So I've got Superboy, then I've got Superman, then I've got Superman's girlfriend, Lois Lane, and then Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen. This is this is from the Ed Steinman pedigree collection. See, he's autographed it. And Ed Steinman has written the N in his name over the number. I can't even see it, man. You had to use marker, Mr. Ed Steinman. Anyway, it's the oldest one I think I've got. At least in this box. Oh wait, I'm supposed to be filing some other stuff here. Where am I at? 45 minutes. I better stop here pretty soon because look at this. It's a 3D comic. Doesn't have the glasses in it, but I've got some glasses around here somewhere. This is what a 3D comic looks like inside. It's absolutely unreadable without the glasses. Rudy Kazootie, a forgotten 1950s puppet television show. I'm sure you can find some Rudy Kazootie episodes on YouTube. That stuff is entertaining. Howdy Doody's very entertaining too. Before my time. Okay, what do we got? Oh. Is this Sheldon Meyer? Oh, I forgot. Sheldon Meyer also did Doodle's Duck. See, this is Flippity and Flop. I don't think this is Sheldon Meyer. It might be. The Davy Crockett fad. Flippity and Flop. Actually, this is going to be two. I don't know if this is going to be, this is a 10-cent 50s comic. If you hadn't already guessed by the Davy Crockett on the back, and I'm not sure if it's going to fit in a Silver Age bag. Let's try it out. Yeah, it looks like I may luck out. Yes, it fit. I picked up these two Flippity and Flops at a Price Books. Walmart has a reproduction of this rifle, the one that the kid in A Christmas Story lusted after, and Red Ryder, and that's the original box art and everything. It looks pretty cool, pretty real when you see a whole shelf of them.
This may be the most important speech I've ever made. I want to provide an update on our ongoing efforts.
Okay, Flippity and Flop.
Irregularities which took place during the ridiculously long
I need more Flippity and Flop comics.
We used to have what was called Election Day. Now we have Election Day weeks and months. Bad things happen during this ridiculous period.
I haven't had breakfast yet. It's early in the morning here in Grottuville. Oh, Peacemaker. These may be good investments. I'm not one of those idiots, but it's like I think I picked this up recently for $7, right? And this is issue 2, and this is issue 5. Both of these I got for $7.50, and if Peacemaker becomes a huge deal in the next Suicide Squad movie, and with I think an HBO Max television show with this big wrestler that all the kids love, John Cena, those could be as Stan Lee used to say, those will be an annuity. Let's see. You tell him, Donald. See, on my radio station, I play Donald Trump. I don't think any radio station played this Donald Trump speech. My radio station, he gets his full 48 minutes or whatever. Yep. Ooh, this has some nasty looking water damage. But I guess I didn't care because this cover is so cool with these flying hawk type women. I had to purchase it. Or perhaps I was tricked by a boarded comic. The boarding can hide things. I remember at Lone Star Comics, when I looked at the vintage comics, I would always flip it over on the back, and then you could tell if there was water damage.
We
And
have so much of
I
it.
remember back in the
I
80s,
want to explain the
they must have
corrupt
bought
mail-in
from someone that
ballots
had that
system that
problem,
we put into
because
place.
there were a lot of comics I found, oh, this got water damage, so I put it back.
Especially in
But
swing states, which they had to
well, I bought a lot of Fantastic Four comics from them. Then, I mean, I remember buying the one with, because no one cared about Black Panther back in the 80s.
far greater than they
I mean,
ever
he was
thought
just
possible.
not ever a really
While
big
it has
character
long been
at that
understood
point with no
Democrats
movie. And
political machines
I remember buying the Fantastic Four where Black Panther first appears for like
from
$5.
Detroit to Philadelphia,
Of course, $5. $5 was more money back then. I mean, you could do more with $5 back then. My
what
day.
changed this year was the Democrat Party's relentless
Wow, look at
push
that.
to print
I
and
love
mail out
jukeboxes
tens
on
of
the
millions
covers.
of ballots
Indeed.
sent to unknown recipients with virtually no safeguards of any kind. This allowed fraud and abuse to occur at a scale never seen before.
Ooh,
Using the pandemic
it's just
as a pretext,
Archie comics are just so lovely.
Judges drastically changed election procedures
I just hope I'm not reincarnated as someone that doesn't like Archie.
on the 3rd of November. Very rarely were legislators
Oh, that student that I told you about that
and constitutionally they had to be
became a
involved.
self-help guru
Very rarely
or something.
will we see that as we continue to file our
She wrote me a letter years later, talked about how, great I was, and she invited me to her high school graduation. I don't think I went to it because it was down in San Antonio, I think. But she wrote like a 7-8 page long scholarly article as when she was a 6th grader on Archie comics that we published in our little class magazine. I'll show you a copy of that magazine when they're everywhere in here. When I stumble on one, I'll show you. Perhaps in the next exciting installment of the Grottu Orloff show. I love this, man. The whole family is enjoying their rifles. I told you about that woke Santa Claus. No, you can't have a gun, not even a Nerf gun. That's not a proper gift. Frickin' commie. Santa Claus is not a commie. I mean, Santa Claus is real DNA, you know. He was Odin, who was a war god. So that's kind of cool, actually, that Mel Gibson's playing this mean, violent Santa Claus.
Dozens of counties in the key swing states.
I think I went through all of these recently with you,
On the rolls,
because I swear,
they have voting age citizens,
God damn it.
including
You know,
67
maybe not.
counties in Michigan.
Next episode, I'm going to get to the strange tales and tales to astonish and show you those. And it'll be cool to have them on video. Then I will be able to, if I'm in a store and I see a copy of Strange Tales or Tales to Astonish, I can quickly pull up the video on my phone and see, do I own this issue? That's what I did a few weeks ago to make sure I didn't already have some Journey into Mystery comics. And it kept me from duplicating comics I already had.
The eligibility of those
Okay.
who cast ballots in an election, and such an
I
important election it is.
think,
We're determining
therefore I am. No, I think that I need to probably close this video out,
whether they are even American citizens.
or it's just going to shut off.
We have an
Plus, I want to get downstairs and watch what's going on in the news.
outright fraud, which is far more
It's
in numbers
such an
than
exciting time. Boy,
we need to overturn.
I don't want to get too exciting.
In other words, in Wisconsin, as an example, where we were way up on election night,
Okay,
they ultimately had us miraculously losing by 20,000 votes.
well, I'm glad you were along with me on this wonderful journey into the fun of organizing a comic book collection.
At 3:42 in the morning, there was this.
Let's see what we can do here.
Dump of votes. Mostly Biden. Almost all Biden. And to this day, everyone's trying to figure out where did it come from. But I went from leading by a lot to losing
This guy.
by a little.
fell down. Let's get him put back up in a place of honor. This is the light that was lighting me today. Old 50s light. Boy, it smells like maybe that light bulb is a little bit too strong for it. I said actual real light coming in for a change. Okay, hold on a second. Well, I wonder if I could make it look like I have a halo. They do that with Biden, like that. They'll have his little seal of office of the president-elect, and it's a circle. They do that with Biden. They used to do it with Obama, and they'd frame the picture just right so that the seal is right behind their head, and it looks like they have a halo, like they're some saint. They don't do that with Trump. You notice that? It's almost like the press is in the bag for one person and not the other. But that can't possibly be. They're objective journalists. I'm not being sarcastic at all. Isn't that funny when you say, I'm not being sarcastic at all, and you're being sarcastic while you're telling people that you're not sarcastic. It's so meta. Well, I guess I'll head on down. Sometimes Spanish language channel will cut into my radio station on that particular radio. Perhaps I should broadcast on a different frequency. Or perhaps they should turn down their damn signal. How dare they? Well, we're going to have our Christmas episode, a very Grottu Christmas coming up soon, and you'll be along with me for my celebration of Christmas. Indeed, indeed, indeed. Oh, the dog has pooped. I need to clean that up. Indeed. Oh, that smells bad. Okay, what do I got to do here? Okay, we need to see what's going on in the world. I was recording these movie trailers. Got to finalize the disc. So, finalize disc, yes. Okay. Then I just switched out a picture in that room upstairs, and you may have noticed that Batman 3D Batman cover. So I'm gonna put this picture up in this office down here. I don't think you guys have ever been in this room. How about that? Yes, I don't think I've ever broadcast from this room. So, let me sit this down for one momento. Uno momento. Why I oughta. Will it? Oh man, that's not gonna work. That needs to be higher up. Shit, motherfucker. Well, I need to put the nail up higher. Terrifying. It's horrible. That means I have to find a hammer. The hammer of the gods. Oh, here's a painting I did years ago. So can you see that? I tried to do a pulp style painting with some. I guess that's not too bad. It's kind of shit. I've seen comic art that's published that's shittier than this. honestly. But I have all these. I start putting these Count Chocula monster cereal boxes on the ceiling because I had so many of them. I didn't know what to do with them, and I don't know. Probably a reflection of my profound insanity. But actually, this is letting me go a little bit longer. I think yesterday my phone overheated, and that's why it stopped. I don't know why it overheated. Perhaps all the hot air coming out of Grottu's mouth. All right, well, I will see you soon.